Welcome, guys and gals, kids and adults, to another episode of Your Fill of Pets. In today's episode, we'll be talking about some basic things that you need to have in place before you purchase your red-eared slider. So stay tuned, let's get into those basic things. Okay guys, so we're gonna discuss basically 5 things that you would need to have beforehand before you go out and purchase that red-eared slider. Now, the 5 things that we will talk about, and I have my little display in front of me in order to provide a visual aid of what you would need. Yes, I know the tank is quite small, but obviously this is not an example of the size tank you should have, although it might work for the turtle while it's quite small, but it would quickly outgrow it, but it's just for the purpose of demonstration. So firstly, obviously the tank, so that's number 1. The filter, that's number 2. Third, sunlight, very important aspect that you would need. Fourthly, a basking area like we see here in order for the turtle to benefit from that sunlight that you provide. And then fifth, something to treat the water before you put that water into your aquarium or container. Firstly, the tank. Now, as I mentioned, this is quite a small tank, and a red-eared slider would in quick time outgrow this tank. So what I would recommend is as big a tank that you can purchase, and it doesn't need to be a glass aquarium, it could also be like a plastic container, half a barrel, as I mentioned in my previous video, half of an actual water tank. As big as you can go, I recommend going as big as you can go initially. Now secondly, you need to have a filter. Now turtles are very messy eaters, and they also produce a lot of waste, even more so than fish generally do. Without a filter, you would then have to be doing water changes as frequently as maybe every day, and that could become quite burdensome. Now, the third thing that we said that is absolutely crucial for the turtle is sunlight, because sunlight actually keeps your turtle healthy. It contributes to the well-being of the turtle, as well as the shell itself needs a lot of sunlight in order for it to keep healthy. Right? Now these bulbs that I purchased, which as you can see are both kinds of ultraviolet rays that we get from the sunlight, UVB and UVA. I purchased them online. They are made by a company called Boshi, and I can't remember how much I paid for them, but they were quite inexpensive. And I would recommend that you try to get these bulbs. What you would just need to do when you purchase them is you can just go to the hardware. This is what one of the bulbs look like, and you can purchase this quite handy little socket plug that is designed to allow you to screw in a light bulb, and it uses the bulb itself, the UVB UVA bulb. At the bottom of it, the socket is much like a normal light bulb that you would screw into your ceiling to provide light. But before I move on to move away from the third thing that is important, which is the sunlight, you know, some persons, what they would do is put the turtle outside in order to get some sunlight. And I could understand the reasoning, but there are a couple reasons why this may not be a good idea. Number 1, especially when turtles are quite small, they are susceptible to predators like birds, large birds, or other things that may be in the outdoors, unless you're going to stay and sit and watch the turtle sun, which is quite unlikely. So that's the first reason I would not recommend that. The second reason, how many times have you heard of the story of the lost turtle or the turtle that ran away? Well, in order to avoid that, keep the turtle inside. You can try to place the tank or the container by a window in order to provide some sunlight, but since turtles need as much as 12 hours of sunlight daily, that still may not be ideal. So the best thing is try to get these bulbs. The fourth area, it should be pretty brief. You need an area for the turtle to bask, Now, the area that you provide for your turtle to bask, it should be positioned in such a way that he can fully come out of the water, but it should also be positioned in such a way that you can put sufficient water for the turtle to be completely submerged. So like with this one, I just kind of did it as a prop thing. You should provide an area that the turtle could use to climb up to it. And you may be wondering, why does the turtle need to be completely submerged? Because sometimes I see people with turtles, sometimes you might see it in the pet shop, they're not completely submerged. Turtles need to be completely submerged in order to swallow their food. Now the fifth and final thing that you would need is a tap water conditioner. Why? Because the water in the tap, lovely Wassa water, we know it's quite clean, but it contains something. I don't know if you got the sarcasm in my voice, but you know it contains two elements that are basically very harmful to aquatic animals, fish and turtles as well. And those two things are chlorine and chloramine. Now chlorine, you can get rid of chlorine by simply filling the tank and leaving it for a while, and the chlorine would eventually dissipate if you put an air pump in it to dissipate the chlorine. But chloramine is a totally different matter. That does not go away on its own with just aeration from an air pump. This handy bottle of tap water conditioner is quite reasonable. It's only $20, and you just need to add 1 drip per gallon of water, and that basically makes the water safe for the turtle to swim in. So you have all that you need, right? We basically went through it. We have the tank, that's 1, filter, that's 2, sunlight 3, basking area 4, tap water conditioner 5. And is that all we need? Well, remember I said that there are some other things. It's not an absolute must, but I would recommend that you get them. One of them is a siphon, in order for you to siphon out the water. Now there are ways that you can improvise. If you have an old hose, you can cut it and you can try to use that, but I would not recommend that, especially for children and even for adults, because to get the siphon going, guess what you would have to do? Yes, you have to put your mouth on one end and suck it up and then get it going, and you know what could happen. Yes, some nice turtle water inside of your mouth. And as we said, turtles carry the bacteria salmonella, and so that's an extra, you have to be extra cautious, especially when dealing with turtles if you try that method. But this was quite inexpensive as well. This one was $20. I've had this a few years now and it's working quite well. And the other thing that is not completely necessary, but I would recommend that you get, sometimes a fish out old food that they may not have eaten, you just get a normal fish net. So you have gotten all your basic components, and you are ready now to go out and buy your red aid slider. Am I correct? No, there is one other thing that you need to do. It's not a component, but it's something that you need to do before you purchase that red aid slider. What is it? Well, I think that for today you have had your fill of pets, and so in episode 3 we will discuss what is that thing, that final thing that you need to do before you can go out and purchase that red aid slider.